Welcome back. In this video I'm going to explain to you how to get some fancy movement across the screen here. And so I'll just show you what I've got. And so now we've got a row of these. They come across, and then when they hit the side here, they drop, and then they come across. Okay, so that's basically the idea. And of course the left side does the same thing. All right, so let's talk about how I got this. Now, a couple things in here that I created. One is I created some side boundaries. So I created a right and a left boundary, and basically they're just colliders. Okay, box colliders here. I've set them to trigger because they're just going to. I'm going to use them as a trigger to tell it when it's got to the left side or the right side. And I put different tags on each one. So I put a left side boundary, and then I put a right side boundary on this one. Okay, and they're just at the edges of the game, and I just made them the full size there. All right, so you could just create an empty, locate it, create a box collider. I mean, obviously the size doesn't really matter. It's just that it goes along the edge there. All right, the other thing that I did was with the enemy. And don't forget, prefabs here. We should have all our enemies, okay, as prefab. And so I put those all as prefabs, and then I just put them in and I duplicated them, and I put them at a certain distance away from each other. And I can't remember exactly what I did there, but there should be a equidistance away. So you would just change the X position by a regular amount, whatever seems to work. And, I've just put a few in here. I got 6 there, whatever you want to do. And what I did then was created an empty and put all of those in. And so I've just called them row 1 and row 2, or whatever the case might be. Now, so I've just put, you can just see that there's more ones there. Now each invader in themselves has everything that we had before. We had the animator, the sprite renderer. If it gets hit, I don't quite like the name now that I've got enemy shot there, but we can probably work with that. We can make it the enemy shot as well. And the box collider on each one. And on row 2, sort of the group, I put a box collider on it. And the reason is to hit the edge, so you can sort of see here there's a box that goes around the whole thing, so it knows when it gets to the edge. And then I've got a script here. Okay, I've also had to put a rigid body 2D because it's moving. Anything that moves basically in your game needs to have a rigid body 2D, and obviously I've turned off the gravity scale. So let's go and look at that script that I've put on here. Okay, so you'd have to obviously create a script. And this would be it here. So let me just zoom in a little bit. Now, called it enemy movement. Okay. And I've set up 2 variables. One is I definitely had to set this as public because I was just playing around with the horizontal speed. And you'll need to find one that works for you. And I also created this Boolean. And what I was having troubles with, it was dropping down a couple times. So I put in sort of a condition of right touched. So did it touch the right side was basically what I was saying. And I set that to false at the start because it hadn't touched the right side yet. Nothing in the start menu or in the start function. Now in the update function, I got it to move. Now this is a transform.position. Okay, so we're changing its position, and it's going to be a new vector 2. And in order to get it to move back and forth, I've used this math function called ping pong. And these are the numbers that I've used here. And so let's just go into Unity, into the documentation, and take a look at this ping pong function. So here we are in the Unity documentation. And the ping pong one, it's a little bit complex. And so basically you just have to play around with the numbers there and see what works for you. Basically, we've changed ours to vector 2. So you'd only have 2 of these here. But you can see the math app ping pong. This is just something that increments, and this is the length here. You can see the float t and the length. And so basically, you can try to speed up or slow down time, I find, and then play around with the length. And then you just sort of see how it works. So it was just a matter of trial and error for me there to get the right numbers. So what I did here was, like I said, trying to manipulate the time here with a horizontal speed. And this was my length. And then I found when I had that, it was just too far over. It was roughly the right length, but it was too far over. So I shifted it -1. Now that I've got that, I think I've modified it enough. And this might have been answering my question. Let's just check this out and see if that's better, because I had it moving back suddenly. I mean, with anything, you just need to play around with the numbers and see how it works here. So actually, that's better. It starts now in the middle. Okay, but now I've got this trouble of it going too far. So I'm going to keep that -1 in. So what we'll do is just keep that in there. Okay, so I just had that out there. So I'm not 100% happy with that, but it works. And obviously, we don't want to do the Y value here. So this will just get it to move back and forth. Now, of course, we needed to get it to go down as well. And so that's why I've got my on trigger enter 2D, taking the collider. It's going to be called call. And if it is the right side boundary and the right touch is false, it will, I just put this in debug log to help me out to make sure it was working. What it will do is basically do the same thing as above, but take the Y position and drop it. Okay, then that right touch is true, so it's touched the right side. So that way this doesn't happen again, even if it was still touching it. Just moves it down once, about 0.5, and then it moves to the left, okay? And so then when it gets to this one, it also moves down. All right, so that sort of helps that work out. So you get the left and right movement with the ping pong here, and then you get the down movement when it hits the right side, or when it hits the left side. All right. So I think when we come back, as we've got that movement down pretty good, we'll look at getting the enemy to fire, to shoot at us. So we'll create our firing one, our enemy shot, and then we'll also look at getting it to fire in a random way. So we want to be able to have it just shooting from random locations, and then have some way of getting it to increase frequency as well. Okay, and that's one thing I haven't done here, is increased the velocity, and that will be probably something I'm going to leave for you to puzzle over and try to figure out. All right, so we'll see you in the next video.